Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Critical Conversations. I know you guys are going to be so excited for this conversation because I sure am. We have Dr. Mary Sanders back again to help us guide through those last chakras that we didn't get on our first episode with Dr. Mary. So we're going to do a brief recap of who Dr. Mary is and I just first of all want to say I really appreciated our first conversation. So if you haven't checked that out, go back a few episodes. You'll find it. This is going to be part 2 of that, where we're just going to complete all the chakra systems. So Dr. Mary, I'm going to toss it over to you. What do you want people to know really quickly for that bio?
Well, first and foremost, Chris, I just want to say it's my honor to be back here again with you. I really enjoyed our first conversation. I thought that it was very heartfelt, and I know that there was a certain amount of vulnerability that was also shared on the show. So, listeners, I invite you, if you have not already, go back to that first part 1 of a 2-part series of the chakra systems and the endocrine system as well. So, as Karissa said, my name is Dr. Mary Sanders, and I am a medical intuitive and also a chiropractor. I also have an emphasis in positive psychology. So the lens in which I view the human body comes from a very integrative standpoint. So I want to assist people in better understanding their energetic system, which essentially involves not only your biofield, the electromagnetic current that surrounds your physical body, but also the chakra system that runs and penetrates into the physical body as well. And a chakra is essentially a wheel of energy, and the primary responsibilities of the chakras are to receive information from the environment, assimilate the information, and the third step is to express your life force energy back out into the world. So if you are walking around with an unhealthy or a distorted energy center, then you will recreate life events that will help to support the distortion. So if you, for example, we talked about chakra 1, 2, and 3, and I'm going to briefly touch upon these. The first one, located deep within the pelvis, is all about trust, security, and safety. So for example, if you're walking around with a distorted first chakra saying that the world is not safe, energetically you will push that out to the universe or out into the world, and the world will, you know how it is, magically provide you with more life experiences that tell you that the world is not safe. So that's why we want to dive into the energy centers so that we can better understand where the connections are and how we might be able to embark upon the healing journey. Just located above the first chakra, located below the belly button, is the second chakra. And that is most intimately connected into the ovaries in women and the testes in men. And that is all about your ability to create, or your obviously it's the reproductive center, so what you can reproduce, but it's intimately connected. Creativity is connected into your ability to voice authentically what your needs are, your greatest desires. The third energy center, located below your ribs, underneath your breastbone, a little bit in the soft part of the upper abdomen, also known as the solar plexus. And the themes surrounding the solar plexus revolve around autonomy, sovereignty, individuality. So all of those 3 chakras are most intimately connected into the physical body. We covered them in depth during the first part of this 2-part series. So that's why the invitation, Chris and I are asking you to go back to listen to that episode as well. So, Karissa, that's where we ended.
Yes.
And then today we get to start with the space of the heart.
My favorite. I love this. I want to say I love the way that you described what a chakra is the wheel of energy, receive, assemble, and express back into the world. I've never heard it described so simply. And so I just wanted to say that again, because I think that that was a really descriptive, beautiful way. Let's get right into it. The heart, I love this chakra. I've been working like a beast to open that sucker up ever since I started my personal development journey. So tell us more about the fourth chakra.
Okay. Well, the first thing I want to say about the fourth chakra, it is considered to be a transitional energy center. What do I mean by that? The first three are most intimately connected with the physical body. The heart is a transitional energy center as we move into 5, 6, and 7, which are more spiritual. So it's a bridge. It's a bridge. And most people are like, Karissa, most people say, the heart, I've got the heart. It's all about love. And really, it's more than that. It's more about self-love,
Yeah.
self-forgiveness. Okay. Forgiveness is a big word. It should be in many dictionaries, a 4-letter word, because it's not, it's a hard word for people to conceptualize. What I have learned over the years is that under a deficient heart center is a layer of perfectionism
Mm.
that blocks the ability to tap into compassion and self-compassion and love. But the heart center is so beautiful in that it has its own toric field. It has its own ability to move away from the physical body and connect into the universal love. So when you think about the heart, obviously located in the center, right behind the sternum, most intimately connected with the thymus. That's the endocrine gland. The thymus is just responsible. It's not an active endocrine gland after the age of 18, but it is responsible for the production, for immune enhancement. Okay. So that's the function of the thymus itself. The nerves that penetrate the heart, okay, are also going to be the nerves. There's a branch of the vagus nerve that goes into the heart. So there are a lot of reasons people experience anxiety and chest pains because there's a dysregulation with the vagus nerve that doesn't allow the chest to expand and to relax. So there's some, anatomical stuff behind it as well. So that's kind of big to know because Chris, somebody like you, a beautiful, beautiful spirit who has the best intention to hold space for others in their healing and their business, you have greatest intentions and you also have great expectations of your own performance. And so you're wired to be more sympathetically driven. So you will go, go, go until you just can't go anymore.
Yep. It's as if you've met me before.
We have connected. We have connected.
Yeah.
I have sat with your energy field, so I can call you out on that because I share the same tendencies. Okay.
Yeah.
So the heart center, that's a big deal. It's just a big, beautiful deal. Remember, you've got a front and a back portion of the energy center. So be thinking about the space between your shoulder blades as well, where all of us carry a lot of stress and tension, trigger points in that area as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to move up into, this is my favorite energy center. And I say that with love and kindness because this has been my greatest healing challenge. And in the throat is the fifth energy center, and it is most responsible for communication, clear communication. And a layer deeper is authentic communication. Let's face it, we all know the right words to say in the right environments. We were raised, by parents that taught us well. However, we also need to be true to our inner voice. And so that's the authentic voice that you want to embody when you think about the space of the throat. When people are underdeveloped or don't have that have an unhealthy expression, sometimes they can come across as being timid. Sometimes they talk nonstop about nothing important. Okay. Sometimes they're just super loud. I mean, these are just distortions that people carry. And the reason that these distortions, they want to be heard because they were raised in an environment with critical parents who shared that who told them, you need to be quiet, you need to be seen, not heard, that kind of a mentality. The nerves, the endocrine gland that is associated with the throat is the thyroid. And I know many women that are listening to this program are saying, did she just talk about the thyroid? Because I have issues with my thyroid. My thyroid is sluggish. It's not uncommon. It's not uncommon to see these two things go hand in hand. So the nerves that exit out of the neck that control the shoulders, elbows, arms, and wrist, any of those body regions, if you're having shoulder pain, elbow pain, or wrist pain, jaw pain, ear pain, that's related to the fifth chakra. Okay, so that's more spiritually, it's a higher vibration, it's a higher level of consciousness when you get into the spiritual or the higher energetics. That's the fifth chakra. Then we have the sixth chakra, which is located just in the forehead. And it's within this area. This is also known as the third eye. It's within this area that we begin to develop clairvoyance or clear seeing. So it's like, I don't know, for all the moms that are listening, can you see when your kids are telling the truth? You
Always.
can.
Always.
Absolutely. So you see the truth when you know it, you see it. Okay. That is the center of also developing some intuition.
Mm-hmm.
And it's related to the pineal gland. And this is my favorite endocrine gland.
Yeah.
The pineal gland is no bigger, Chris, it's no bigger than your pinky nail.
Wow.
Okay.
Tiny.
Tiny. But
Huh.
it's shaped like a pine cone.
Okay.
So if you think about, the layers of the pine cone, that's a ton of surface area.
Yeah.
And it's heavily driven by vibrations. The pineal sits in the center of the brain, right? Kind of in the area of the hypothalamus, but in the center of the brain, and it receives all the vibration of the energy coming up vertically from the body. And so it's a fascinating gland when you start to think about higher realms of consciousness and how we achieve that. I like the pineal because it also regulates light and dark. So it's your sleep wake cycle. So it's producing your melatonin, your tryptophan, your serotonin, all of that, your oxytocin for those women that have conceived and delivered babies, that feel good hormone that gets secreted after you deliver a baby. So all of those hormones are generated by the pineal gland. Super cool, super cool. And these are the people that possibly might be experiencing headaches, tension at the base of their occiput, just really kind of, they're very creative people, forward thinking, non-judgmental people. Okay. They're visionaries. Okay. Now, Carissa, I know you're one of these people because you can hold a bigger vision for somebody who's coming to you for one-to-one services before that client can see for themselves.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a beautiful thing. You're also probably very creative in your ability to visualize things, right? So you probably have the ability to kind of fantasize about how things are going to play out in the future as well. Those are all strengths and attributes to the sixth chakra.
Cool.
Okay? Yeah, I know. I've been picking on you. I picked on a couple of your weaknesses. So now it was time
That's
for me
great.
to, show one of your strengths. And then the last one is the seventh chakra, and that sits on top of the cranium or the vortex of the head. And this is the energy center that connects you into the divine, something that's much bigger and greater than yourself outside of your physical body. So that's where you can tap into spirituality. Now, Carissa, I know you and everybody listening know people who are so committed to being in this state of bliss that they bypass their physical body to get to this spiritual domain. You ask them, can they feel their feet? And they certainly can't, but they definitely can connect up above. Now, the analogy, and this is going to sound kind of crazy, but this is how I see distortions within the seventh chakra. And you know how you read a cartoon and there is a speech bubble above the cartoon, their head.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what it looks like. It looks like somebody's kind of occupying the space above their head, like they're not in their body.
Okay.
So that energy center obviously has the highest level of consciousness. It is most intimately connected with all that exists from a spiritual realm. And these are some of the expressions behind the distortions would be people that don't necessarily learn from life experiences. They don't get the pragmatism behind what life has taught them. Like they kind of do the same thing over and over and get the same results. They possibly could be judgmental. That they can't. They're limited in their abstract thinking. Okay. So those are some of the distortions that we see within the seventh. And the seventh energy center is associated with the pituitary gland. And the pituitary gland is kind of like the mother regulating hormone for all of your endocrine systems. And we mentioned that all the endocrine systems associated with the chakras, I believe we talked about it during the first series, but we know that it's the pituitary, the pineal, the thyroid, the thymus, pancreas, ovaries, testes in men, and adrenal system. So when it comes to the endocrine system, which is responsible for hormonal regulation, you can't disturb one endocrine system without altering some of the other systems.
Oh.
So if you have a thyroid that's out of balance, if you have an adrenal system that's out of balance, you can best bet that it will eventually cause havoc in your reproductive hormones, your diet, or your digestive hormones, your sleep hormones, and it's just a cascade. It's a negative cascade of events.
Interesting. So when you're working with people, can you pinpoint pretty quickly what the main chakra system is, or do you have to walk backwards to get from one place to the actual, oh, this is the root cause?
Yeah, I typically get a pretty good hit on that the first time that I'm holding space for somebody.
Yeah.
And if it's not one, then it's two.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they team up, they kind of pair up.
Yeah.
I frequently see in women, I see the second chakra and the fifth. So those women who really are not in touch with their greatest desires because they've spent a lifetime caring for other people. And
Yep.
then they no longer have an authentic voice of really, really communicating with their authentic essence. I see that a lot. And Karissa, the other thing that I see a lot is the first chakra in the seventh. And that is those people who are not physically connected or have burnt out their adrenal system striving to something that was unreachable within the spiritual realm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and is that like, let's say that might be the person who is trying to, I'm just going to use this buzzword because it's so popular in the personal development world. Is that the person who's trying to quote unquote manifest something that, and they're bypassing maybe experiences or lessons, and so they're burning out trying to reach this goal that's not yet for them? It's not that it's not possible, but there's a pathway that has been avoided.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because those that are in distortion of the seventh do have a difficult time bringing it back down into the material world.
Right.
And then when you think about prosperity, right, and materialism, goes hand in hand with prosperity, that comes from the first energy center, which is associated with the adrenal gland.
Yeah.
And so you think about within the vertical power current, or in yoga, it's called the Sushumna channel that runs vertically along the spine. We have energies that go from the earth up to the heavens, right? And that is energy that's looking to be liberated. But at the same point in time, we have energies that are wanting to descend from the heavens back down to the earth for manifestation.
Right. Okay. Keep
So a lot of,
talking. I love this.
yeah.
I want to
And
learn more about this because I think this has been a hot topic for me, and it's something that I've obviously been working through. If you've listened to the first episode, you know that I've been working through trust, and a lot of that autonomy, that self-trust. What is my creativity? So I'm very much this person that Dr. Mary is talking about. Is I wanted this thing that was outside of me, and I wanted it so bad that I wasn't in touch with where I was, right? So my dissociation of where I wanted to be and where I needed to be were out of alignment. And it's that like burnout, you hit that wall, and then it's like, do I give up?
Mhm.
Or this and then it reinforces this disbelief of trust, right? And so I've been trying to break through this cycle. That's my current life lesson, right? So talk to me more about this, because I think a lot of people are more dissociated with their body than they're willing to give credit for.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate you being candid and sharing your story. A lot of vulnerability there, but it happens. It happens. And so when you think about the dissociation, I'm going to say that you're not the human spirit is not living within his or her human home.
Right.
If
Exactly.
you say dissociated, I say out of the body,
Right.
right? So again, I can say, "Where's your big toe?" And they're like, "What? My big toe?" And I'm like, "Yeah, your big toe. It's connected to your foot." So the ability to okay. This is the message that I want everybody to hear. If you want to expand out into the realm of spirituality for manifestation, for visualizing and achieving your dreams, then you have got to match that expansion underneath your physical body into the earth. You
Yep.
have to match it in width and in depth. And many people are not comfortable grounding in and connecting with Mother Earth to that level or to that degree of saturation. So the first step is to learn the grounding techniques to get intimately connected into the physical body. Then, only then can you open up energetically into the eighth chakra for more manifestation, into the ninth, 10th, 12th. I'm only talking about the lower seven.
Right.
But in order to start accessing that, you have to be embodied and you have to be grounded.
Yeah. And that's been my experience, is that I was so far ahead of myself because I just wanted to be there. Like because I have that vision, I have that visionary superpower, as you called it. I can jump ahead, but I was jumping beyond the timeline I was living in. And then it was like my physical body was like, come back, come back. And I'm like, no, I'm avoiding you. Like, I'm fine, I'm fine. And so I want this to be permission for the listeners to slow down and connect with yourself. And this is really the power of presence, right? I think the greatest book I ever read about that was written by Eckhart Tolle. Like he helps you understand what it means to be present. It's that moment where you're no longer needing the future to be able to be happy right here and right now. And it's that understanding of like, it's always fleeting. Whatever is good is fleeting. Whatever is bad is fleeting. It's like the moment's constantly changing. And if this moment isn't good enough, the future won't ever be good enough. And so he really has helped me learn to come back. And I think it's funny because I know all this stuff. I've read it, I've done it, but the implementation and embodiment of it is when you actually take the time to slow down. I have so many friends who are more physically messed up than I am. Like, I would say that I'm a very healthy person, but I'm intimately getting to know myself and learning more about like where my physical ailments are. But I have so many friends who are struggling with chronic migraines, struggling with chronic weight. You know, they want to lose weight, but they're always gaining it. I have a ton of clients who are just exhausted, adrenal burnout. So what are they missing? How can we help them here, Dr. Mary?
Yeah, I think, and this is not going to sound, probably won't be a satisfying answer for a lot of the listeners. And that is because there's not enough doing.
Right.
Okay. There's not enough activity in it. But the element of grounding, slowing your frequency down to match and to meet and to greet the frequency of the earth is about the most beneficial thing that you can do. The Earth's frequency, scientists have measured it, Schumann's resonance, 7.83 hertz. It's slow, it's rhythmic, it's nutrient rich, dense, organic, liquid, brown, ooey, gooey, slow. And if we can get you to connect with that frequency, then there is a shift. There's a shift in your autonomic nervous system. You shift away from that fight or flight sympathetic dominance that you run on. It's like running on that last few drops of gasoline in your car. If you can shift away from that and lean into the idea of more rest, so that you can digest, and I mean not digest your food, but digest the energies of what's happening within you and surrounding you, so that you can then begin the transformative process of healing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you know, I'm a manifesting generator. So I get that little, you know, bunny battery pack that just, it's so hard to slow down, but I'm doing it. I'm saying no. And what I'm learning in that process is how important my physical well-being is. And I think that a lot of women, especially women who have children or are caregivers, whether it's to a partner, a parent, an aunt, an uncle, like women are caregivers and we neglect our bodies, our physical bodies, and we say, oh, I just need to get through this. So, what do you tell somebody who comes to you, you know, or intuitively, like whatever? I'm kind of sick of hearing people say, I just need to get through this date. What are you telling people? Because I hear that and it's triggering me because I'm like, that's not really why we're here. We're not here to get through life. We're here to fully express ourselves and experience life. So help me with this trigger point for me.
Well, my guess is that it's triggering you because it's mirroring back to you something that you have either done in the past or lean towards the same tendency in current and present time. For me, when I hear somebody saying that, I don't say anything, Karissa. I don't, because it's their journey.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that may sound really, please, listeners, I don't want to be misunderstood. That is challenging to do, but it is truly compassion for another person.
Yeah.
Because if I were trying to fix it, if I were trying to change it, if I were trying to teach them or persuade them, then I would become too attached to the outcome, which would then turn into empathy.
Yeah.
And I've learned the hard way, and we talked about this in the first series, in that
Yeah.
when you start to pick up other people's energies because you think that you're doing them a favor, it really is a disservice because they're on their own journey.
Yeah. My God, you're so right. I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh my God, it's a trigger because I'm actually doing the same thing, but I don't want to do the same thing. Yeah, you're totally right. It's like, I can hear my best friend. She's like, I just need to get through. And I'm like, blah. And I'm like, oh, wait, but that's exactly what you're doing. You're saying, I just need to get through this month and then I get to take a rest.
Right.
Ah, wow. Epiphany, light bulb. Oh my God. See, this is why I love these conversations, because they're as much for me as they are for the listeners, you know, and for you too. I'm sure you walk away with beautiful nuggets at the end of all these conversations, Dr. Mary.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I want to jump, we're jumping around a little bit, but I want to jump to the heart chakra. And we talked about it briefly here in this episode about the heart being this transformational part of your journey. And so when you're looking to expand in your heart chakra, you're expanding in self-love, self-forgiveness. But I have this question because I think this was something I pondered for my own journey. Is it hard for people to understand that heart chakra because they don't know what love is?
Sometimes they weren't raised in an environment that authentically displayed it.
Yeah. So
You know,
really,
they could have been raised in an environment where they had everything materialistically provided for them, which was their parents' way of displaying love. However, what they needed was, these people, they are your elementary teachers, that have this big, beautiful heart that kids, animals, people know. Like, these people
yeah.
are safe, they're approachable, they're non-judgmental, they're cuddly, they love hugs. I mean, those,
Juicy. Yeah.
I'm not one of those people, but I love being around those kinds of people
Yeah.
because it provides me something that I wish I would have received at a much younger age.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because when I was learning how to have my energetic boundaries, it really was this deep dive of what is love and what is the expression of love and how do I experience love? How do I receive love? And what I learned was that I don't receive love, which is why it's easy for me to give it and hold the space for other people because it's not about me. But the reality is I became much better at holding space for others in a compassionate way versus empathetic when I learned how I like to receive love. And I think that I just wanted to touch on that because if you are running around out there, especially the perfectionism folks, I would love to probe, check in with yourself. What is love and how do you like to receive love? Because it's not all about giving, right? It's about how do I like to receive love? And we don't often think about love in that way.
There's a language to love.
Yeah.
And it's unique to every single individual. And it's a very touchy, it's a touchy conversation to have with oneself because then you start to address what's self-love, what's self-compassion. And those are buzzwords in today's, self-help, industry. But it's true. You get to sit like, oh, wow, I would never say these words to my best friend, but I'm saying them to myself right now. How did that compute? How did that happen?
Yeah. Yeah. That's that reflection piece that I think is so incredibly powerful. When we look at how we're receiving our own unique, physical, mental, emotional well-being, what are we saying? What are we doing? And I think it's just like, it's simple, but it's complex, right? Like the structure of it is simple. So really briefly, I would love if you told us, how does somebody start to really tap into their body? Because we've touched on being grounded. We've touched on, okay, they're up here, they can't feel their toe. How does somebody start to feel their body?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm really glad that you asked that. And there's no easy answer because each person is different.
Yeah.
However, I hold space on a monthly basis for a group of people who are looking to tap into their somatic intelligence because it is so challenging for people to tap into their physical body. And what I've learned is, and this is true, it's counterintuitive to ask somebody to lean into areas of restriction, pain, discomfort, blockness, stuckness, yuckiness. People don't, they will do anything within their power to avoid those areas within their body.
Yeah.
So the invitation is to sit in an expanded state. And I don't care if you're just focusing on your breath or you're focusing on a single object or a single candle or whatever it is that focuses your attention. Then you'll realize that the emptiness within the space between your breath, you'll begin to gain awareness of your somatic body. And so then you're going to start to get information, and then you're going to have to learn how to ask the right question.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I think start small, right? Because a lot of times, I know when I first decided, okay, I'm going to change my life, I'm going to do something different, it was like I wanted this giant 180, but it's not sustainable. So I think starting small is really important. But I would love for people to walk away from this and be like, okay, I'm going to practice listening to my body more, the little pains, the tings and tweens and all the things that are happening. There's deeper things happening. And if we can turn our attention to that, I believe that we could eradicate a lot of the death and sickness and illness that we experience, especially the cancers of the world. I always, cancer has been big in my life. A lot of family members have passed from it. And I can see now in the reflection how the parts of their body where they held the cancer and the correlation to the spiritual, things, the chakras, it's a direct connection to where we're avoiding what we need. I think when you talked about like the desire, I think that's a huge one for a lot of women and men. They desire something different, but they're shoving it down and avoiding it. And there's so many little things in our physical body that live in that 1, 2, 3 area that I think could be healed if we tapped into some of those spiritual or, non, I don't know what the word is, but you know what I'm saying.
I absolutely do. And I'm going to say right on, sister.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super interesting. Okay, Dr. Mary, tell us again, how can we connect with you? Because I think there's going to be a ton of people who maybe want to have a session with you. Do you offer like one-offs, or how can people work with you?
So there's a couple of different ways. And I love this question because it kind of metamorphosizes as my practice develops. Okay. So, yes, I do offer one-on-one sessions, and those sessions typically are 90 minutes and 60 minutes. They're the highest ticket value, if you will. And so then I want to make my services more affordable. I also do monthly group healings with that somatic wisdom, connecting into the somatic wisdom. And then in May of 2025, I am going to be launching a toolkit, an energetic toolkit, so that people can learn how to ground, how to clear, cleanse, and charge their chakra system, how to listen to their energetic bodies so that they can be preventative in their healthcare, and then how to align with their purpose and manifestation. So that toolkit will be launching in May of 2025. So my suggestion, if you're sitting there out there and you're like, I think I like this lady, she may be a little wackadoodle, but I'd like to talk to her, then just go to the website at www.drmarysanders and schedule a discovery call. That way, you're the person, we know if it's a good match. We know if we would work well together. I always invite people to follow their intuition. They should interview their healthcare practitioners before they work with them. So that's the opportunity.
Amazing. I wish I could interview my doctors before I go see them. That would change my life. Because I show up and I'm like, okay, so I've been working through these chakras and I'm having these symptoms, and they're all like, what? This lady's psycho. But I'm all about truth. And so I'm not afraid to advocate for myself. I always, tell people like no one else is going to advocate for you. So if you're feeling the pull, you guys go to drmarysanders.com and check her out and book that discovery call or grab that tool. I think this episode's coming out in June, so the tool should be out, should be available. Get it. Go for it. I love this. Thank you so much for joining us a second time, Dr. Mary. I really appreciate your wisdom. And, you know, I think the world is changing. More people are going to need people like you to hold that space so that we can become more in tune with our bodies. So I appreciate the work that you're doing. Thank you very much.
You are so very welcome. Believe me when I say the honor is all mine.
Thank you. All right, y'all. We'll see you at the next conversation.